Hi folks, Eric Lynn here with Mountain Ridge Gear. I want to talk to you a few minutes about how I tack out this riding donkey here. I spend a lot of times in the mountains here in Colorado. I'm never on flat ground, and so having a proper fitting saddle, breast collar, britchen, cinches is imperative to making sure this animal stays comfortable and I stay safe in the saddle. All right, so there's really 4 things we're considering here when we're talking about putting a riding saddle on a donkey. All right, and the first thing, before we even talk about those things, I want to tell you something. This is not a horse. All right, I grew up a horse guy. I knew horses, and I've had to relearn when it comes to equines, and this is not a horse. This animal's bone structure is different. It's got a flat back. It doesn't have withers. It has shoulders. Its feet are different. How it reacts to stress and pressure are different. This animal is not a horse. So if you're a horse person, I beg of you to learn about these donkeys and understand their habits, understand how they're built and how they operate before you start trying to ride these animals, okay? Because if you can keep this animal comfortable, donkeys will work their tails off for you, okay? But if it's not comfortable, you're going to know it. It's going to balk. It's not going to work as hard. All right, so that's important when it comes to when we're talking about a saddle donkey. All right, so first and foremost is this saddle. Saddle has got to be properly fitting. Second, we're talking about proper placement of the saddle. Third, we're going to talk about cinches and rear cinch and front cinch, where they're placed on the animal. Then finally, we're going to talk about britchen and breast collar. All right, so this is a Queen Valley Mule Ranch saddle by Steve Edwards. I've got 6 animals. This saddle fits all 6 very well. It's a great saddle. The key is it's got a bar that distributes the weight across this animal's back. You know, I hear folks tell me I ride in a horse saddle and I haven't noticed any problems. Well, these animals can endure a lot, folks. I mean, they can endure a lot. So, but we're talking about just a couple of ribs that we're putting pressure on. We're talking about a horse saddle, okay? But we're talking about this saddle here is distributing the weight really nicely across the ribs of this animal. So it's going to be much more comfortable. Secondly, this saddle needs to be positioned properly. If you can't see this stripe, it's too far forward, all right? More importantly, it's going to be hitting the scapula. One way to check that is to take this animal, and she's tied up now, put your hand up under the saddle and turn her head towards you. If you feel a lot of pressure on your hand, that scapula is ramming up into this saddle. It's not going to be comfortable for this animal. So, you know, you can have a properly fitting saddle positioned incorrectly and it's not going to work. All right, third is going to be our cinches. When do you use a rear cinch on a donkey? Always, okay? I never go without a rear cinch, ever. And the way I adjust these is this cinch here is tighter than this one. And if you think about on me, I'm kind of built like a donkey. I got a pot belly and a narrow chest, just like her. And so if I can tighten this belt down a couple more holes and I'll still be comfortable holding my pants up, right? But if I put a belt up around my chest and I tighten it up, that's not going to be comfortable. It's going to restrict my breathing. It's going to go up under my arms. It's the same way with her. I put 60 some odd miles on her last week, and you can see there's no galding at all on this animal. That's because I've got this rear cinch tight and I've got this front cinch a little looser, and I've got them tied together. Now see folks riding this donkey like a horse, they'll put a leather strap back here, it's loose, not doing you a bit of good, folks. And even if that leather strap is tight, still not going to be holding this saddle like it should. You need a rear cinch just like this, all right? Very important when we're talking about a donkey and a mule as well, okay? You need a rear cinch, always. I got a friend of mine who's a mule trainer. If you ask him, if you gave him 1 cinch, where would he put it? He'd put it in the back, and he'd be able to ride that animal just fine. Problem is, if you run 1 cinch on this animal and your saddle gets loose, what do? You tighten up your cinch. What that does, it just rides right up in here and galls them, and it's uncomfortable for them. So 2 cinches is imperative, okay? And then lastly is a britchen and breast collar. You know, a lot of folks talk about how to adjust this britchen, how loose to do it. Well, I'll tell you, I am constantly adjusting my britchen, constantly. I'm going up and down hills. I want her to have free movement, as free as she can. If she's going downhill, I want this to tuck up under her and keep that saddle or that load from moving forward on her. And I want it against the meaty part of her leg here. This is nice because it distributes that weight all the way across there, and then it's not too far down where it's restricting the movement of her legs. It's not too high up where it's going to be pushing too hard on that hip bone right there. It's right in between here. It's laid flat across her muscle, so it's not gonna dig into her hair and rub her hair off. You can see there, she got all her hair. She hadn't lost her hair, like I said, 60 some miles last week. She wore this britchen right here and it's fine. I'm adjusting these constantly as well. If I tighten this up, it may change this. I want this to always be a nice curve like this, nice angle. Very important. And then lastly is going to be my breast collar. Same way with it. I'm adjusting it a lot. I love these breast collars here where that buckle is. I've actually adjusted this while I'm in the saddle. You can reach right down here and adjust this up in the saddle. It's kind of nice. As you can see here, this is above her shoulders. She's got free movement, not wearing the hair, and it's also kind of like a pulling collar here on her chest. So 4 things we're talking about here. First and foremost, get a saddle that fits. Very important, folks. Very important. Secondly, is making sure this saddle is in the right position. You can get the best fitting saddle in the world, put it in the wrong place, and it won't work. Very important. Thirdly, when do I use a rear cinch? That's right, always use a rear cinch. And then lastly, your britching, your breast collar. And then it's also significant and important as well is making sure you've got proper pads on. I don't like wool pads. Wool pads don't wear against donkey's hair real well. They're pretty slick. The wool and the donkey's hair just don't cooperate. And so I use these pads with a tacky tack on the back of them. They really sit good. These have got extra padding under the bars. Gives them a little more padding. It breathes well. It's a little cooler. I like these synthetic style pads better than the old wool pads. So that's how I do it, folks. That's how I ride here in the backcountry in Colorado, and it works for me. And more importantly, it works for these animals. It keeps them comfortable. So thanks for watching. Please comment down below and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks.